Greetings, Guzzlers. Just in case you hadn't sort of connected, doing Indian again. Now this is actually a dish I've cooked a couple of times before. Not ever actually done it this way, recorded it. But I got this from Rick Stein's India book. And actually there's quite a few recipes in there I've used, and some of which I have shown you. However, this one, this time round, I'm slightly adapting it because it is a sort of traditional dish. But when I started doing a bit of research, ready for this time round. Oh, I need another beer, doing too much talking. I discovered that he doesn't necessarily do it correctly. He says he got this from an old woman who came and cooked at a restaurant, and he watched what she did and he wrote down the recipe. But when I looked into it, I found actually there were missing bits. So this isn't strictly speaking the same thing I've done before. I've tried to make it a little bit more authentic. So tonight we're making Chicken Chettinad, or Chettinad Chicken. Chicken Chettinad is from a specific region of India, and it is a classic recipe from that region, and it is a very peppery, well actually it's a very spicy one. It's one of the dishes in India that uses a lot of spices. And so the first thing we're going to do, I've got my spice grinder here, well actually it's coffee grinder, but I use it as spice grinder. We're going to make a blend of spices. For a minute there I thought it was bloody KFC or something. So what I've got here is essentially a tablespoonful of different spices. So we've got a tablespoon of fennel seeds. We've got a tablespoon of cumin seeds. We've got a tablespoon of coriander seeds. Now, I'm going to be putting some more fennel seeds in, so I've left me little jar of fennel seeds. I might have to get some more of them. But this is just a blend that's going to be like pounding up. And anyway, and then, now, oddly, I can't find any black peppercorns. Now, this should use black peppercorns, but what I'm using is long pepper. Okay, so I'm just gonna, now that's not all it is. It also, we want some chili powder, some Kashmiri chili powder. I haven't got any chili powder, well I haven't got any Kashmiri chili powder, but I have got some Kashmiri chilies, dried ones. So I'm going to put them in it. But first off, I'm just going to whiz them up so I've got a bit of room to put them in. What's going on here? Bloody thing's not working now. Might have to grind it by hand. Does help if you remember to turn the power on, because this is electric. So anyway, I've put my chilies in there now, and I just want to grind this up to like a fine powder. Now, like I said, we're going to be putting some more fennel seeds in. We're also going to add some curry leaves. Now, ideally, you want fresh curry leaves, but that's almost impossible to get in the UK. You can buy frozen ones, but I ain't got any. So I'm using dried, and so it's not really going to do the sort of job properly. But anyway, there you go. You're going to want onion or shallot, garlic, turmeric, yogurt, and some coriander leaves just as a garnish. You're also obviously going to need some chicken, because it is Chicken Chettinad. But then there's another secret ingredient. I'll show you in a minute. I'm finished grinding this. I might have to get another beer. So that's my spice blend done. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to prepare the onion and the garlic, because obviously we need to chop up the meat. Now, I was telling you about the secret ingredient. It's this stuff. Now this dargaful, kalpasa, or stone flour. And what it actually is lichen or lichen depends how you want to pronounce it. I always brought up to believe it was lichen, but a lot of people call it lichen, I don't know. But this is a specific lichen, lichen, that grows on tree bark. And so what you've got to watch with this is that often there's bits of bark still attached, because when they pick it off. Now, I had a big bag of this stuff because I've used this quite a few times, and I have gone through and removed the bark. But I shall, before we sort of prepare it, I shall make sure there's no bits of wood in it. And talking of which, you're also going to want a stick of cinnamon. It's probably a large stick of cinnamon, but that doesn't matter because the Daggerfall actually imparts a cinnamon type flavour. So if you can't get hold of any Daggerfall, then basically just put more cinnamon in it. Basically, loads of cinnamon. Can't go overboard with it. So, like I said, I'm just going to peel me garlic, and then I'm going to use my garlic crusher for that, and we're going to slice this up. Well, not slice it up. We're going to dice it finely. Okay, and then we're almost ready to go. But all I'm going to need to do is prepare my chicken. I'm also going to need to cook some rice, because normally this would be served with just plain boiled rice or parathas or whatever. Is it paratha or paratha? I don't know. But we're going to do it with boiled rice, and I'm going to do that in the microwave. Started doing me onion. Like I say, you can use shallot. About 150 grams of it. So I said to you already, Chettinad chicken is quite a peppery dish. Uses quite a lot of spices. And this is now where I'm going to vary from Rick Stein's recipe, because the authentic one also uses yoghurt, which his recipe doesn't include, and turmeric, which his recipe doesn't include. And it sometimes actually does include other spices which we're not using. Oh, it's making me cry, this onion. Oh, and I also forgot, I mentioned all the things that are going into this, but one of the other things is going to be some grated ginger. But that's more or less it. So, Chettinad is a region, like I said, it's making me nasty. It's a region in the sort of Tamil area, and it's actually named after a sort of, it's really making me cry, this. A bit weird, I don't normally find these onions make me cry like this. But, oh, this is certainly working. No, it could just be coincidence. But I had my 4th COVID jab this morning, and it has made me feel a little bit funny. Not that I'm not a funny person anyway. Well, whether that's got anything to do with it, or whether it's just sheer coincidence. And by the way, if you can hear the banging going on, it's fireworks. Don't get excited. It's fireworks. Because we're filming this on November the 5th, firework night in the UK. This will be going out, obviously, well after. But that's what the banging is about. So, I've removed some of this Daggerfall. I don't know what that is. Looks like a bit of grass or something. And there was a few odd little bits of bark. I've just removed them. But what I'm going to do now, I'm not sure that's going to stay on there, is I'm just going to, although it is quite fine already, I'm just going to chop this up a bit. Ooh, that felt like something hard in there. Well, there you go, another bit of bark. So, like I'm saying, it comes from the Tamil region, and it's named after the community that lived there, which were the I'll try and pronounce this right, Natukokai or something, Chettiars or the Nagarathas, but they're basically the same people, just known by different names. And they were quite a wealthy bunch of merchants. Well, that felt like something hard. There we go, another bit. That's what I'm saying, you have to be careful with this. When I first got this had some quite big lumps of bark in it. Anyway, so these were sort of merchants dealt in spices and other rare goods, and salt, and made lots of money. So the region was sort of very wealthy, and they developed their own sort of cuisine, some of which was vegetarian, some of it were using meats, primarily sort of dried meats, salt dried meats, that sort of thing. Right, so that's that chopped. So all we're left to do now is, which I probably might get that off there, is obviously we've got to crush our garlic, we've got to grate some ginger, but I'll do that directly into the pan. So really all we're left with now is to chop up our chicken. Now we could start cooking now, but it'd be better if we get the chicken chopped, because then obviously we get all the messy bit out of the way. So what we've got here is skinless chicken thighs, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut these up into sort of chunks, bite-sized chunks, and then aside from getting my ginger out of the I was about to say oven then, there's a bit of bone there, I found a bit of bone in it. It's weird, this chicken thighs, I don't know if it's mechanically stripped off of the thigh bones, but occasionally find, well, I can't feel it now, bits of bone in it. So anyway, this is the last sort of messy bit, if you like. I'm probably being a bit fussy here, trimming some of this off, but got to be healthy, ain't you? Got to get rid of the skin and the fat. So these Chettinad, like I say, they sort of were the people that the region was named after, or perhaps they were named after region, I don't know. But anyway, they resulted in this particular type of cuisine that tended to be quite a lot spicy. Whether that was because they had the money, I don't know. But they, by the way, this is, if you were cooking for 4 people, you'd want about 700 grams of this chicken meat. Okay, which by the time I've trimmed it, that's probably just a little bit less than, or there will be a little bit less than that. So where does the name Chettinad come from? Well, Chettinad means land, or Nadu, of the Chettiars. So Chettinad is the land of the Chettiars, the people who live there. The name Chetti is a Sanskrit word, basically meaning wealth, because like I said, these merchants were quite wealthy. So really, that's all there is to tell you about Chicken Chettinad. So now I just have to bore you by talking about other stuff. Right, so the chicken's chopped. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add about 50 ml of vegetable oil to the pan. I'm going to put that onto a medium heat. Okay, although it's a small ring, that's getting on for a bit more of a high one. And we're just going to bring that up to heat, and what we're going to do now is we're going to fry off our cinnamon stick. This is where we're going to need our fennel seeds, and I'm doing, oh, how many of these am I doing? I'm doing a teaspoon this time. I think that's that one, isn't it? Yeah, teaspoon of fennel seeds, in they go. And so it's cinnamon, fennel seeds, turmeric. Turmeric is another teaspoon. There's my teaspoon gone. What's on there? Oh, it's a bit of paper off the top of the pot. Interestingly, I'll say to you that we've made this a couple of times, or I've made this a couple of times before, following Rick Stein's recipe, is the picture in the book, this comes out quite red. But whenever I've cooked it, it's just like a brown colour, not red at all. I did once actually try and make it look redder, just to make it look at what I thought was more authentic, but I don't know. Anyway, so I've now got the So my cinnamon in there, my turmeric in there. Oh, and my dargaful, where's that one? And in that goes. And so we're just going to sort of heat that through once that oil comes up temperature for a few minutes. Now obviously we'll be removing that cinnamon stick at the end. We don't eat that, but it's going to stay there to the end. And actually I'm wondering whether, because this time round I'm adding turmeric, whether that might enhance the colour, but we'll wait and see. Who knows? So now at this point, this is when we chuck in our curry leaves. So if you've got fresh curry leaves, you want about a handful. I've got some somewhere, I can't find them now. So I'll just chuck all them in there. And we're also going to put our shallots in at this point. And now we're just going to cook that through for about 10 minutes or so until those shallots or onions have softened. I might turn the heat down a little bit in a minute. And then we're going to need, obviously, our chicken prepared. We're going to need our garlic. We'll get some ginger. You want your yoghurt. You might want to add a little bit of water as it's cooking. Once we've got everything in there, if it starts getting a bit sticky, I've got a bit of onion, didn't dice that properly. Gets a bit sticky. We want it to be like a sticky sauce. Although again, this is according to Stein, it wants to be like a sticky sauce. And when you look at the picture, it's not like swimming in sauce. However, it did appear in doing my research, my historical research, did appear that actually it was a bit more of a sauce. But anyway, we're going for the sticky sauce. So I'm going to need to put my rice in soon. And obviously we've got our spice blend there to go in. So, a bit boring one tonight, isn't it? I haven't got to bore you senseless with chat about history or whatever. Or old people. Right, that's just about 10 minutes. So at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to chuck that chicken in there. Chuck the chicken. And we're just going to stir fry that, if you like. Stir it around for a couple of minutes before you effectively add everything else that we need to put. Now you might notice there's some sugar there because we are going to be adding some salt and some sugar. But we'll do that when we chuck everything else in. So for now it's just a couple of minutes tossing it around. Don't mention it to any else. Okay, before we add the remaining ingredients. So while that's doing that, I'm going to clean my board up, wash my hand, and then we'll be all ready. And then we're not too far off really. Really it's just a matter of 10-15 minutes or longer if need be, just to make sure the chicken's obviously cooked. So wife wanted to eat a bit later tonight, so we started a bit later. I should point out, by the way, she decided to try and match the colour of the dish, which is, like I said, meant to be red. So she's gone all red, dark red. Told me she was going pink. She walked in the door and I thought, where's pink? Well, pink at all, red. Well, apparently it's not red, it's dark pink. Very nice though. And she's got a posh frock on again as well, because I've got dressed up for the occasion again. Right, so almost ready, just chuck the rest in. I'm going to grate in a generous portion of ginger. Actually, I forgot to mention, I was saying about how the Chettinad, if you like, sort of settled in that region. That was about 3,000 years ago. There you go, a bit of history for you. So that's got some ginger in there. I'm going to add a teaspoon of salt and we're going to use a teaspoon of sugar. Now I do have my actual like palm sugar or jaggery over there, which is what you normally use, but I have to sort of crush it all up and I can't be arsed. So I'm just going to put a teaspoon of brown sugar in there. We're going to put our garlic in there. Get that crushed into there. And then our magic spice mix, in all that goes, a lot there, and we're just going to stir that through. And then, like I say, if we were following Rick, and also I realise I'm a bit of a twat, as I said to you, that when we looked at his pictures and that, and actually when I looked at other pictures, this stuff looks red. I don't know where the red colouring comes from, and I'm thinking, oh, I should use turmeric like the other recipes do, because obviously, oh, I've just realised as well, I meant to put some, I meant to put coriander seed in it, can't remember that. Oh no, it's coriander leaves. I'm saying, oh, I put the turmeric in it, perhaps that might make it red, but of course turmeric makes it yellow, doesn't it? So it's even less like the pictures, but I don't know where that red comes from. Unless it's from the chilli, but you don't put that much chilli in it. So like I said, the next thing I'm going to need to put in, there's my little one, is deviating for Rick Stein. Rick Stein at this point says put about 100 mils of water in, but I'm putting about 100 grams of yoghurt in it, because traditionally that's what they would use. But although we want this to be a bit like a sticky sauce, if it's starting to stick a bit to the pan, which is unlikely with this pan, then we just add small amounts of water to make sure it don't stick. But now we're going to cook it through for about 15 minutes. So now's the time to put your rice on, if you're doing it in a microwave like I am. Okay. Actually don't look anything like Chicken Chettinad, does it? Compared to what I made before, it looks more like a korma or something, doesn't it? But it ain't. So about a 15-minute cook, if need be longer, but you want to make sure obviously your chicken's cooked through. So all I'm going to need left now is some obviously the cooked rice to serve it with, and some fresh coriander which I've got over there, and then I can just have a clear up here now while that's cooking. So here we go, let's try it out. Got a bit of rice, but we'll worry about that in a minute. Let's try the sauce. Actually, I found it's a lot runnier actually than normally. It's not as sticky as it was normally. Well, that's because I added the yoghurt, didn't add any water. But let's try it out. Chicken's nice and tender. Ooh. We're definitely getting that pepper hit. That's both the chili pepper, but also that long pepper coming through. Ooh. Oh. Run out of beer. But no, that's nice. Now, to get the odd bit of curry leaf, that's a little bit on the tough side, but I did look at that before I put it in there and get rid of any stalks. But if you cook it long enough, that daggerful also like softens up and blends in. But that's, well, actually I think I've got a bit of butter there. But that's spot on. Your Chettinad chicken, nice peppery Indian dish from the Tamil Nadu area. I suppose I better let the wife have some.